This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another edition of Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest this morning is a transformational teacher, certified business coach, and food entrepreneur on a mission to disrupt everything that has been keeping Black women from choosing themselves first. As the founder of DisruptHer Coaching and the Midwest Way, she weaves together sacred identity work, community restoration, and real-world legacy building to transform the lives of women and the neighborhoods they love. Through DisruptHer Coaching, she works with women who have spent their whole lives putting others first, especially Ms. I Got Time for Everything Except Myself, aka Denise. Her signature frameworks like the S.H.I.T framework, self-love, healing, identity, and time provide a sacred pathway for her clients to come home to themselves and finally get their own S.H.I.T together. Her other current offer, the Sacred Circle Reset, is a powerful entryway into her world, designed as a healing experience and an invitation to reclaim power, peace, and purpose. Participants leave with clarity, confidence, and next steps rooted in their divine identity. She also has another entity called the Midwest Way, and we're going to talk about that before this program ends. Welcome to Open Door with Vince Robinson, Ms. Selina Kelley. Selina, how are you today?
Greetings, Vince. I am blessed by the best. I'm great.
Okay. Well, you've got quite a dossier here. You've got websites, you've got all kinds of social media connections, and you are dedicating your work to the lives of women. And I'm sure there's probably space for bros to get in on this, but we'll talk about your work with women. You spell disruptor, DisruptHer, and you have a podcast called DisruptHer Conversation. So we're going to talk about all these things. But before we get to all of that, let me ask you the quintessential question. Who is Selina Kelley?
Oh, that's a layered question. I answered that question on my podcast, by the way. I interviewed myself on my podcast. Okay. It turned into a 3-part series. Selina Kelley is a layered. I believe I have lived at least 4 lives already. I'm a connector. I'm a healer. I'm a sister. I'm a mother. I'm a best friend. I'm a daughter. I am a light worker. I hold space. I'm a space holder. I'm a bridge. I take up space. I am a warrior, especially for women and people that are being mistreated. And that's why it's important for me to sound the alarm about disruption and what that really looks like, especially sacred disruption, because for women, they've been told for so long who they are before they know who they are. And I know it and lived it well in my lived life experience of almost 58 years walking on this planet.
Okay.
And yeah, it's late. And I'm a food entrepreneur and restaurateur.
Okay.
And an author.
Okay. So you apparently have a life's mission in service to women. What was the catalyst for that?
Well, actually, it had been happening my whole life. I just didn't know it yet. I was in a marriage that I believed was a partnership, and then it was quickly evident that it wasn't a partnership. And I became disconnected from myself because I was compromising and not listening to my internal spirit and my values and my dreams and desires. And I likened it to playing chess and being strategic just to benefit the marriage, benefit the business that we started. And I'm being kind in that. And each decision and choice was taking me further away from who I was and who I knew myself to be. And till I was just totally lost, and I was disconnected from myself. I, the name that I was married under, that Selena, that version of me, I didn't know her. And after we divorced, I went in search to find her. And what I realized was I needed me a me, somebody to show up the way that I would show up. You know, when stuff is hitting the fan, I am very good with organizing chaos. And my life was in chaos, and I had been suffering in silence because I hadn't shared with anyone. And it I liken it to, it's the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, because I lost me. That is a low valley, dark, deep forest, like there's nothing there. When your own spirit doesn't even talk to you anymore, I couldn't hear it because it was talking to me, and I was doing other things, not listening. And it was doing its best to honor and protect me and hold on to my dreams and desires and the visions that had been placed there. And I was like, right before I got married, I had been given this vision around the business, what we now know to be called Midwest Way, because ain't no way like the Midwest Way. And I was holding on to that, and I was believing that it was for me to do it with who would become my husband, for a number of reasons. And so that was really what was driving the car, and I just didn't know it at the time. And so it took me so far away from me, which led me in search of my own me. And I found my first life coach. And once I realized that that's what it was, I was like, hey, this is a profession. I've been doing this for over 30 years for free. And like, this is like a really profession. And it helped me realize that that was my life's calling. Midwest Way is the vision that I had been given to birth, and that's been sitting with me for 10 years. However, DisruptHer Coaching is my life's calling. It's what I would do for free, whether I was paid or not.
You know,
And here we are.
I can't help but be curious about what happened before you got married and why you chose this person who turned out not to be the right person for you. You said that you were a different Selena during that period, and then you discovered yourself. So I'm just curious about what your thought process was and why you thought that this person was the person that you needed to be with, which later led to a conclusion that it wasn't going to work.
Well, let me be clear that I believed at the time that it was the right person, because I had been having conversations with spirit, and all spirits ain't necessarily spirits that are operating on your behalf. And what I was gleaning, and let's just be honest here. Let me just rip the band-aid off of this one. I had been in an affair with this person for 3 years after my husband died. It was one of the first people that I met after I came back from maternity leave and having my son. And as we started working together, we got close. And he's the first person to tell me that I was grieving. Now, mind you, I was 23 when he died. By the time my son was born, I was 25. And he's 8 years older than me. Just sharing all this wisdom, we had a lot in common. And we were in that affair in my grief, not out of anything really other than that, and wanting somebody that I felt like looked out for me and cared for me, and he wanted me to be a kept woman. Well, that was the energy that I was used to. And when that ended, I went my way because I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Lost my job. We worked together. And my baby's 3 at this time. And we reconnected when I relocated to Las Vegas over Facebook. And it just felt right. And I was looking for signs that is this really that? Because I wasn't interested in being married. I'd been widowed for more than almost 25 years or however long that was. And I wasn't interested. And it just kept leading towards that, oh, okay, we still have some feelings for one another and all of that. And then when that vision popped in, I was believing that it was for me to help him, because we had worked together in the family business that had a history at that time for more than 70 years here in Cleveland. And and that's on me because that's what I believed at the time. I mean, when I tell you the entire blueprint, and I had done it before. I helped he and his family stand up their first franchise location. I was the senior manager in that restaurant, and I also was their executive assistant. All while we were having an affair. And so I had done it, and I just naturally thought, okay, I'm supposed to do it here. And so, the conversation was around partnership, communication seemed great, and all of that. And we liked each other. And quickly, within 3 months of the marriage, I learned, I was thinking, something is off. He don't think right. Like, he's really confident, and I like that, but something about this is off. And I was like, maybe we don't know how to communicate. I've been widowed for 25 years. He had been married for 30. He reached out when he was first getting divorced and asked me to marry him. And I'm like, you need to go sow your wild oats. I don't even know you like that. I had started on my Christian walk and what I believed that was at the time. And so a lot of religion and dynamics were at play. And by that time, when we reconnected over Facebook, I had started my health journey of going vegan, like doing everything that I desired, because my son had relocated to California after finishing college. And so I was free to be me, and I was doing all of it. And then here comes somebody. And at my own doing, because when I saw it show up on Facebook, I said to myself, oh, he's 2,000 miles away. We good, right? And it quickly escalated when he communicated that his father died. And me, goody two shoes, me, want to help everybody, was like, oh, he's probably going to need somebody to talk to. So I was like, my condolences. And if you need someone to talk to, I'm not even sure that I had finished pushing the button before he called. And then we just fell into, conversation, catching up. And all of this was just happening kind of quickly. And it felt right. And as I was praying, that happened. So I believed it to be consent in the past. And so within 3 months, I said, we're going to need a therapist, somebody to help us communicate, because that's what I thought the problem was. And I knew I needed someone that was a mature Black woman, because I didn't believe that he would be willing enough to listen to anyone else and be open to it. And I knew I needed somebody that understood the dynamics religion. I was practicing Christianity. He's raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And so at the time, we knew that was at play, but the conversation was we would determine together where we would serve. That didn't fall into full fruition. So there's just a lot happening and at play. And unbeknownst to me, I'm still grieving and dealing with abandonment and codependency and grief and pains, physical pains of when I first moved there. I was dealing with these allergies that felt like they came out of nowhere. Weeds, grasses. I was getting allergy shot 3 times a day, and this one of the reasons too, I had been diagnosed with IBS. I wanted to like change my diet. And so I sought out and I was going really an actual health class. We have to be there every Saturday morning learning how the body actually is designed to function, and how herbal medicine is healing and food and not processed food. So going through that transformation. And so that what that became also was part of the vision, the healthy swap version of barbecue. And that is the strategy and the mission and the vision. When we got married, I just started doing. I never shared it with him. He had no idea because I never shared it. I just did it. It was just instinct. And I was doing everything. He was the face of the business and the chef. I was the strategist. I was the accountant. I was the scheduler. I was the everything, you name it. The web designer, branding, all the things. And it was a lot. It was a lot.
You know,
hopefully I answered your question.
yes. And as you speak, I'm just thinking of an interview that I listened to or watched with Chef Babette.
Chef who?
Chef Babette. I think she's going to be 75 on December 7th. And she was talking about her life, and I think she had been married a couple of times. And then when she was 40, she met her current husband. And one of the things her current husband did for her was he shared 2 books with her. One was called Fit for Life with Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. And then the other one was The Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. And those two books changed her life. It was part of the reason that she became vegan, and she went on this quest to be healthy. And so I think it may have been on her 70th birthday. She did 100 push-ups.
Oh, wow.
You know, so, but
I have to look her up.
Yeah, it's just a stark contrast between the story that you're telling and the story that she told, because, you know, you're talking about your former husband and he was involved in the business. And I think the nature of that business was far from vegan. So
it's absolutely was far from it. So,
right. So
that was the healthy swap version of it, right? You could do it, right? And so we set on that quest that, you know, we would have these strategy sessions and talk about it and all of that. And then it would turn out, I'm believing this is the direction we're going in. And then there would be this left hook out of nowhere coming and things like that. And so it became crystal clear that something was off.
Yes. You know, the other thought that I had, excuse the interruption, but the other thought that I had was, what would have happened had you come in contact with that life coach before you got married?
I probably wouldn't have come in contact with a life coach. I don't believe that. I believe everything happens in divine timing, because this is my divine assignment. I do believe if that marriage had not happened, we would not be talking today about DisruptHer Coaching or Midwest Way. So let me give credit where credit is due, because out of that, I discovered my life's purpose on this journey. I was living it and doing it all the time. I just didn't know that. And I also believe that even though my spirit wasn't talking to me, it was still operating for my highest good, because it already knew that it had given me this vision and these goals and these dreams and the desires. I just didn't know that part of it was disrupt her. And then when that came in the frame, it was crystal clear. So I don't hold any, as a matter of fact, as soon as we got divorced, I released it all. Because before we got divorced, I decided that I'm going to come out of this whole. I decided that I'm going to do the things that I want to do and that I desire, because the only thing that was keeping me from doing that was me and my beliefs. Believing being a good Christian and a good wife and a good friend and all of these things were getting heavy. Because let's be honest, he didn't make me do anything that I didn't want to do. When I reconciled and had that conversation with myself, I did it out of love. Because that's how I get down. I love people out loud, always have. And when in a season when I didn't like who I was, and I changed that. So we're talking from a growth and healed place now, but those things were not clear to me while they were happening in real time. And so I introduced him into plant-based living and a plant-based lifestyle. As a matter of fact, towards the end of the marriage, when I was getting ready to file for divorce, he got had a fatal incident, and I kicked right in. All my medicine and healing work and life coaching and all that I knew how to do kicked right in, and I started him on plant-based meals, activities, because the hospitals did not even recognize that. The food that they wanted to feed him would have still left him sick. I put him on a regimen. We have a good chef friend that I introduced you to a couple of weeks ago, Chef Keaty. His life's work, one of them is living superfoods. He was the first person I called, like, get Chef together, because they're friends, and he put us on a regimen that like set the tone, set the pace. Also, how good God is. When the doctor that he had came in, I asked him, like, how do you feel about plant-based and holistic practices? He said, I believe in science. I only get 20 hours of nutrition as a doctor. And okay, bet. Then I got this. I already knew then it was on me. And then the next doctor that I walked in was a Black woman that understood exactly where I was coming from. And as a matter of fact, gifted him two books by doctors around holistic practices and everything. So it was on from there. We were in it together at that point until it got so heavy, the caregiving for someone that I was getting ready to divorce, that I had realized I don't like this person as a person. And also doing things that were detrimental to me, and nobody knew. And I'm protecting someone that does not have my best interests at heart.
Yeah, it sounds like you were living as Miss Denise, Miss I got time for everything except myself. And
I didn't know it.
Right.
I didn't know it, boy. I did not know it.
Yes. So tell me about DisruptHer Coaching.
DisruptHer Coaching is really my life's work. It's the journey that I've gone through and lived experience of really, I would say, I was her since birth again, and always teaching and telling people what to do, whether they wanted me to or not, because I didn't know I just knew I was supposed to do it. I had this knowing. And so what it's born into now is my S.H.I.T framework. I know I got to be nice while I'm on here.
Yeah.
And S.H.I.T stands for self-love care. It is a term that I created that did not exist before I said it. And it is the marry of self-love plus self-care, because Miss Denise needs both, right? Self-love is the inner love that she needs to give to herself, because the world has told her that somebody else is going to come along, complete her, make her happy, all of these things. And what I realized in my life experience is that I was really responsible for my own happiness, because how would somebody else know? And then as women, we're told who we are before we truly know who we are. And now somebody else is supposed to tell us what we like, what we do, what we don't do, and all of these things. And it becomes a mismatch at times, because you don't even know yourself, and you're just accepting what somebody gives you versus what you really want and desire. And I call that maintaining the status quo, because that's how it is seen and been in the spaces, especially religious spaces. I think it's the most oppressive thing to women in Western culture. And the other part of the framework is the H, the healing part. Healing has to take place, because it's cycles of that, right? We're always, you may heal from something so that it doesn't like burn or scab, but learning techniques to, when life still is lifing and stuff is still coming up and being triggered, there's tools for that. So we build that muscle. Then there's identity, because who are you, darling? The mask you've been keeping on and all of the things that have been piled on top of you, you don't know who you are. And then time freedom. That's the biggest pain point that she has of all, because she's pimped herself out to everybody else, and she's the go-to. She's the emergency contact for everybody, and she's showing up. She ain't got no sleep. She missing her own appointments, all of the things, but she taking everybody else everywhere they gotta go, and she don't even know who she is anymore. She done just totally disappeared in her life. She in a room full of people and nobody sees her. She don't have no voice. Yeah, not on my watch, not anymore. I know what that looks like. I know what that feels like. I've lived it, and I'm on the other side of it. And the biggest reason is because I'm a warrior. I will go to war for the people that I love and that I believe in, and people that I see are being mistreated. And I've been like that my whole life. So it's just bringing my full self, and I get to be exactly who I am. And so the women that I serve, their lives have been changed in ways that they couldn't imagine. The most common feedback that I get is that I was an answer to a prayer that they didn't know that they needed to pray. What? My God. And as I continue to go inward, because how I heard that voice again, my spirit again, was in my war room / prayer closet. Some days it was a war room, some days it was a prayer closet, because there was so much chaos that would go on in the household. I just never had peace. There was always something talking or something. And what I did, my pastors at the time, I'd been visiting them, and shout out to Pastor Timbley Gray and Andre Gray, Las Vegas. Andre is born in Cleveland, and they had a prayer closet. There's part of their storage closet, a prayer room. And I went home and I made one. I took all the stuff out of my storage closet, which wasn't much in there, and I would go in there. I created an altar. I had a map of the world, so when I prayed, and then I had all these sticky notes of affirmations that I needed for me to speak and say, so I could just get my rhythm. And then I would lay on the floor, and it was quiet as it could be in there, and I would just lay there, so I could hear at the time what I believed God speak. And when I did, and I was saying, God, I still see myself as an entrepreneur. I said, I gave in the business in the divorce, but I still see myself as an entrepreneur. I'm believing that I have to disconnect from it. I was like, you gave me that vision and yada, yada. And I was saying to help him or whatever, and Spirit said crystal clear, that vision was for you. If it had been for him, I would have given it to him. And that's when it was crystal clear. That's why I had been operating and compromising myself in that marriage the whole time. And I had no idea. And I thought the funniest thing was, my best friend said to me not too long ago, oh, she said it was evident that it was your business. It wasn't evident to me. I believe that I'm supposed to help my husband, be his helpmate. And in the conversation that was had before we decided to marry, I had been given the word compliment in my spirit. And then he starts saying the word. And I'm like, oh, confirmation, right? And so it is. And here we are.
Yes.
And so the
So,
women,
well, I was just going to say, I don't necessarily see an issue with the compliment or the support of the person, but I think that there may not have been alignment in the relationship, which kind of resulted in perhaps you being taken for granted or not being acknowledged for the value that you were bringing to that situation. Or, I can't explain that. But what I do think,
well, and I wouldn't even say that it is that. I feel like it is that was exactly what it was. They knew the value and what I brought to the table, and that they knew that this would happen. That's what they were hoping for.
yeah. Well, what I wanted to get to, though, was the importance of addressing grief. In personal life, you encounter people who have gone through what you went through in terms of having a spouse, and then that spouse transitions, and then it just kind of leaves a void, and you have to deal with that void. And sometimes you don't completely get through that grieving process, and it perhaps affects your health in a disparate way. So I guess the question I'm asking you is, how important do you think it is for people who are experiencing that grief to go through a process to address it and recover from it?
It's extremely important. Your life depends on it. It's the difference between living a life that you choose or allowing life to live you versus you living life. Because you're the only person that has the answers that you need. They're within you. They're not outside of you. And if you're afraid to go in there, they're going to stay locked in there, and they're going to show up in ways that you didn't realize. I see it all the time. Sometimes the inner child is driving. Sometimes the wounded boy, the mother wound, the father wound, the unspoken grief. Because grief, what I come to know, there are 40 types of grief. Most common ones we know are loss, divorce, loss of a job, death. But there are more than 40 types of grief. Grief is any change in a normal pattern. If it's normal for you, and then it changes, because when my husband died, hey, we had a rhythm. We were tight. And we were young. I was 23. He was 25. He died 8 days before my 24th birthday and right before his 26th birthday. And that was nowhere in our bingo card in the life that we had planned, down to every vacation. And then I agreed to have a baby. So when he died, we were trying to get pregnant. And the last words that rang true to me was, I'll never leave you, because I told him, I don't know that I could do. I don't even think I'll make a good mama. But I believed that he would make a good father. And because I hadn't been the wife that I thought I should be at the time, I was making amends for that. I don't know whether he did or did not know. I don't know. And I felt like I ran out of time. So much grief and shame and guilt kicked in. When he died, I thought it was my fault. And I didn't get the opportunity to make up for it. So carrying that around, I didn't unpack all. I thought I had unpacked it. I'd gone to grief counseling. I was in small groups. But once I really learned, and this situation happened to me, and I had to go inward to really get my S.H.I.T, I started getting clearer, because things were looking really, when you're grieving, things look really foggy. I liken it to glasses. I have framework, that I created also, and a tool. It's called the Clarity Calculator now, but it used to be called the Clear Vision Calculator, because once I got clear, I started seeing that things weren't what I really thought they were. So many things, even a 40 long year friendship. I realized, oh, I'm her best friend, but she ain't my best friend. Oh, hmm. So it's not just uh it's all types of relationships, it's all types of grief, because now that normal pattern has changed, and you need space for that to grieve. And especially Miss I Got Time for Everything Except Myself, she don't have no space, she don't have no time, so stuff just keeps piling. And if it never gets to release in a cry or a beautiful dance or song, and there's no outlets, it never gets spoken. It's just all carried around. It shows up in stress. It shows up in diabetes. It shows up in high blood pressure. It shows up in chronic pain and things that have names called syndromes, because they haven't figured out. Because doctors practice medicine. Life is one big experiment. We're all practicing. We don't know. We ain't been here before. And then for somebody else to tell someone that this is this or this is that, or get over it, you on that again, hey, you don't know. You don't know until it's time for you to either deal with it, sit with it, make choices that are going to make your life for the better, because it's your life, not nobody else's. Nobody else has been given the vision you got. They don't know that. You don't need them to do the vision, because you the blueprint.
Yes. Well, there are some who talk about the connection between emotion and dysfunction that happens in the body. So many times the cause of a dis-ease is, some kind of issue that you haven't addressed. The other thing that I was thinking about was the fact that some people, instead of tackling whatever that grief issue or whatever that trauma might be, they bury themselves in their work. They bury themselves in distractions. They bury themselves in caring for others and not caring for themselves. You have an entity called the Sacred Circle Reset. Talk to me about what that is.
Sacred Circle Reset is it's a beautiful experience. It's the place where Miss Denise gets held. She gets witnessed. She gets seen. We walk through the framework. The S.H.I.T. Self-love care happens on day one. And I'm in the middle of it. I'm on day 5 of the journey, which is the VIP portion of it. But day 1 was Monday. It just passed. We talk about self-love care and what that really looks like in real time for her, because it's not just luxuries and bubble baths and things like that. And you have to marry the two, because self-love is what you give to yourself, so that you aren't looking for it outside of yourself in other people and other things. And when you talked about it shows up. They call it STERBs, short-term energy relieving behaviors: overworking, overgiving, oversexing, overeating, all of these things, right? Anything indulgent. And it's usually for that reason, right? Avoiding yourself, because you're the only one that know what you're dealing with and going through. Now, other people can kind of see it on the outside and shows up in ways, but you are the keeper of it all. And it's all inside. It's like, ugh. And so then the healing part, right? There's always something that, and people I feel like are afraid of healing, but the healing is the medicine. It's the balm that helps you be able to move forward and not stay stuck where that thing happened to you, that trauma or that pain, and sit in it. So that's the beauty of coaching, because coaching helps you deal with your future and move forward. Therapy helps you deal and honor with your past. So the women that I work with, that's a requirement. You must be open to receive therapy to help you deal with that, to heal from that. And then you still got to be present and live your life, because if you stuck there, you ain't even present in your own life. That was the biggest aha to me when all of it was happening, that I'm not even present in my own life. and I want to be present. I want to be present for my life. And then we unpack identity. Like, who are you when you're not performing and you take off the mask? Because you still got to live with you. And if you don't even like you, why what makes you think anybody else gonna like you and want to spend time with you? We work on getting to know yourself, getting to become yourself, and then be yourself. Be who you really are. And then the fourth is the time freedom and what freedom looks like for you. I got asked yesterday in the session, like, what did freedom feel like for me? And it's a feeling. People think it's a destination or it's this tangible thing, and it's really a feeling. And a lot of times when they're in pursuit of that, they feel like, I thought it was going to be this, and it's not. It's because you're in pursuit of this feeling. And for the feeling for me and what it would feel like for freedom is that I can watch the sunrise every morning, no matter where I am in the world. And so to be able to do that, got to be up before the rest of the world moving most times. And so the requirement for me to do that is, one, get enough rest and get to sleep so I can get up so I can see the sunrise. I think that's a exciting feeling, just to see what the sun has to offer me. Life's beautiful nature things that don't cost anything. Right? Those are nature's, those are the really 8 laws of health. They're all natural. They ain't out here. You ain't got to buy them. And so when it comes to time freedom, most of the women start realizing that, oh, I can give myself permission. I can put myself on my own list. We took out the calendars, because we know that anything that's on a calendar usually gets done. Except for, when the women start realizing, oh, I put it on the calendar and then I still don't honor it. So we came up with different names for time freedom: sacred time, ponder time, because it's really about defining what it is for you and not what somebody else told you it is, because that might be true for them, but it ain't true for you. And society has this blanket thing of the shoulds and what things do and don't look like. And in religion, in wanting to belong, it creates oppression, because why do I need to look and believe and think the same way that you do? And that's where the tension comes in, because I don't believe that. I'm on this journey right now, of I'm not sure that Jesus is a true story. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, people are afraid to say that, because then they won't belong. And we need that. We want that, in a sense of safety and being witnessed and seen and heard. But I assure you, when you step into your full identity, you won't have to go looking for it, because your energy is going to attract it.
That story is something that we could probably talk an entire hour about, because
I know, right?
There are reasons to even have that conversation. But I want to talk about if you are aware, the connection between mental state and diet. You mentioned S.H.I.T, and you talked about turning towards veganism as one of the ways that you could feel better. And right. I'm just looking to inform the audience about the connection between your mental state and food, because there are some foods that people can eat that will actually cause them to be depressed.
Absolutely. And y'all got the little Google fingers. Google it, because it's right there. That was clear to me, that there was a direct correlation to what I was putting in my body was making me sick. Not only that, and the way that I was living my life, right? Very stressful. I got diagnosed with PTSD, trauma stressors, all of these mental ailments as well as physical, due to the environment that I was in. that I was willingly staying in, that I thought was normal, and I had to put up with it. And I'm talking about on the job in that context. And what I started to realize, like meat, for example. Now, meat is a whole food if you're not doing anything that is going to cause it to be laced with chemicals, processed foods, things like that, right? Because us as humans, the way that we are designed, our body processes natural foods, things that grow from the earth. But then when you put something on it to manipulate it, the body does not know what to do with it. And if you imagine over time that you're just constantly putting all these dead, artificial, fake foods, you pick whatever word you want to, that are not natural in your body, a living organism, this is why Chef Kitty is so powerful. He's written probably 30 or more books on this. You cannot keep putting all of these dead things that got created in a lab, like natural and artificial flavors. There's flavors. There's over 700 of them. Go right to the FDA site. They didn't come out of any plant. They created them. And so what tends to happen, and that hurts people the most, in my experience, and based on what I've lived through with my family, is taste. If it don't taste right, I don't like it. I have learned to eat to live, not to live to eat. Taste will kill you. Taste will keep you sick. Taste will create high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic pain, like all of these autoimmune deficiencies, because it's throwing your body off. It's an imbalance. It's not supposed to be there, but you're willingly putting it in there. And people get mad at you because you over here having a salad or drinking spring water and doing all of that like it's the bad thing. And you don't know that you're killing yourself from the inside.
Interesting. I watched a video the other day, and this woman, I think she was preparing Cornish hens. And she had to cut up all these vegetables and, use these sauces and all these things that she was putting on the meat. And you mentioned about meat being a whole food, but the thing about it is you don't just chase down a chicken and take a bite. You got to go through a whole bunch of trouble to make it something that's palatable for you. And there are those who point out the differences between carnivores, and I'm speaking of something like a coyote or a wolf or something like that,
right,
that has a short digestive tract, that has an abundance of acid in its system to digest the meat, that he doesn't really chew. He has sharp teeth that allow him to take that chunk out of whatever animal they track down, and then the digestive system does the rest of the work. So we're not designed that way. Our teeth are really more designed for gnashing and chewing, and so the digestive process starts in your mouth as you're chewing, and then
actually, if I may,
go ahead.
The digestive process actually starts before you even take a bite. The flavor, the scent, it activates that, right? And so one of the things that I learned that was troublesome for me, gum, you're doing all of that chewing, and it just really is, you aren't naturally designed to do all of that chewing all of the time.
Right.
It's just interrupting the digestive system, right? And when flavor and the ambiance, all of that starts that digestive state happening. That's why they manipulate it, right? Give you this feeling, and to make you want to keep coming back and keep getting dependent on it. Like white sugar. White sugar has the same chemical makeup as cocaine.
highly addictive, and high fructose corn syrup is even worse than that.
And
Yeah.
they made it. It's not. It doesn't get. It doesn't get. What plant did it come from? Like it came from a plant, but not because the plant made high fructose syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They took the plant, and that's the other thing. When it's being said that it has these things, look how far down the ingredient list the thing that is supposed to keep you healthy is.
Yeah.
Because that's a determining factor. It's not enough.
Right. Yep.
And do I need all this other stuff that's in there that I can't spell before it?
Well, think about it. 19 ingredients for some French fries. Now,
Oh my God.
you know that you only need 2 ingredients, actually, unless you're using an air fryer. But, you need potatoes and some oil. And then, if you want to spice them up, you might put some salt on there, or some other spices to just give it flavor. But you don't need 19 ingredients. I watched a video the other day. I think it was Nuri Muhammad who was talking about the number of ingredients in Popeye's chicken and Chick-fil-A. And then shortly after he brought that up, they took the ingredients off the website. So definitely some things going on to keep people unaware of what they're actually consuming. We have just a few more moments left in the conversation, and I wanted to get to the Midwest Way. What is the Midwest Way?
The Midwest Way is that dream that I've lived with now for 10 years. We are creating a social enterprise to be the heart, hand, and feet of, at the time, Jesus, to perform random acts of love, provide information and resources one heart at a time. And what that looks like we're for-profit with nonprofit tendencies. What that looks like is Midwest Way. We have the food and beverage side of things, and we have the healthy swap version of that. I produced the food entrepreneur in me, took that family recipe and turned it into the healthy version of that recipe. So it's all organic ingredients, spices, and natural things, foods rather, that make up the sauce. And right now that recipe is 80 years and counting. And then there is so this is the for-profit side of it. And every purchase that you spend with Midwest Way, a portion of that goes into a fund that we do to do what we call random acts of love. Most people want to say kindness. No, this is another IP, random acts of love, that we do. And that was born out of when I was raising my son and in grief and widowed, because it wasn't by my husband. I had him after my husband died, about 6 months after my husband died. And all of the people that sold into me, there were these little random acts of love. Some were a kind word. Some, I remember one of my friends that I had just met, she said, you pay now or you pay later. And what she meant was, if I invest the time in him now, I won't have to go visit him in jail or things like that. And I took that to heart because that sat with me, and it made me realize, okay, I need to be the example that he needs to see in the world. And it changed my life. I would not be who I am today if I were not his mother. Okay. My life changed because of him. Okay. And so
yeah, I hate to cut you off, but we just have just a few moments, and I want to make sure that you tell folks how they can reach out to you and take advantage of what you're offering.
What we're offering, if you're currently on Instagram, we are the Midwest Way on Instagram. We have all of the links to the site and the merch. We have branded merch that says "Ain't No Way Like the Midwest Way," T-shirts, hoodies, hats, a little bit of accessories, your mugs and things like that. Through that, when you make those purchases, that helps us do the random acts of love, which is immediate acts. Okay. And then
quickly the others, because we got 20 seconds.
That's it. On the podcast at DisruptHer Coaching, DisruptHer Conversations.
Okay. All right. So much to get into in 54 minutes and 30 seconds, and we did the best that we could. But with that, I want to thank you for joining me on Open Door. And I want to thank those who are listening as always. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.